It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to the last show of 2020, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I am your host, Brian Beatty. It's been an absolute joy to be with you guys all year. And really, for the past 8 years, I've been on this radio station giving you guys my opinion of the real estate market, my experiences as somebody that's sold over $500 million worth of real estate here in the Low Country, close to 1,200 transactions. I share market data, and I give some insight into what I think you should be considering and need to know to become an informed consumer. When it comes time to buy, sell, and real estate, I want you guys to be armed with the information you need to win, to have a successful transaction, to have a great experience. And so if you'd like to learn more about my team, of course, we do sell real estate Monday through Sunday. In addition to me doing this show, I am very easily reached. My phone number, which you can call or text, is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or you can visit us online and learn more about myself and my team and who we are and what we do, what we sell. All versions of this radio show are on there, which is also on YouTube and Spotify and Google Play. I mean, you just Google the Brian Beatty Real Estate Team or Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, and you'll find us. But listingsincharleston.com is the website specifically. Listingsincharleston.com. So, I've got my director of operations, Sam O'Neill, here in the studio with me, and I just told him, I was like, we're going to go in a bit of a different direction today, and I'm going to talk a little bit higher level about what I'm seeing in real estate, and I'm going to cover things like the attitude of agents. I'm going to talk about the training that they receive and the lack thereof, and just kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and give you an idea of what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing in the day of a life of a real estate agent and the owner of a real estate company. I'm also going to talk about, of course, what I think we've learned so far this year as a result of COVID, which we could do an entire day on that. I think a lot of lessons learned, and I think that plenty of people have experienced it, whether or not they've absorbed it, wrapped their heads around it, and then made changes as a result of it, to be determined, for a lot of people. And then I want to talk about looking ahead. Because of these lessons, because of these experiences that we've had throughout the year, how is that going to impact the market? How is that going to impact real estate agents on a day-to-day basis? How is that then going to impact you, the consumer, and the experience that you receive? So all that, and then maybe a little bit more. I've got no notes today. This is purely off the cuff, and this is me just kind of talking through what I'm experiencing right now. I want you guys to have a really good understanding of what you will experience ultimately, and what you should be looking forward to if it comes time for you to buy, sell, invest in real estate next year. And so the first thing that I want to talk about, I really just kind of want to start at a macro level here, and I want to talk about the impact of the coronavirus on individuals and the exposure to the fact that many people in our industry, and I'm going to come out swinging, and no apologies here, I think that our industry, and frankly probably many industries in general, lack the training when it comes to emotional intelligence and stress management. How they deal with trauma in the workplace, so to speak. Because if you think about, the average person, the stat I think is that the average person goes through 10 quote unquote traumatic events in their life, truly traumatic events. A police officer goes through, I think, on average 800. Think about trauma nurses and surgeons and so on and so forth. They are exposed to trauma at a very high level. And of course, the stress that comes along with that needs to be managed. it is a skill that needs to be learned. And so if you think about all the people that have gotten into real estate recently, because I want to keep this discussion real estate related, you think about all the people that got into real estate recently, say over the past 2-3 years, that came from a different industry. Maybe they came from corporate America. And you think about, all these companies that want to instill trust in their employees and, in the public, in their consumers. And they do that by being vulnerable, right? They're always encouraging people to be vulnerable, right? Let's learn together. And then they go and they lay off hundreds or thousands of people. They furlough them. And if you ask a publicly traded company what their number one priority, what is it? Maximize shareholder value, right? And so you have all these companies that are essentially preaching to be vulnerable, to grow, that, hey, we're here for you. You can trust us. And then they say, sorry, you're on the wrong side of the balance sheet, wrong side of the spreadsheet. We're going to have to let you go. And so what does that do? It creates this culture where people are afraid to speak up and say, hey, I need more training on this, or I don't really know what I'm doing, or I messed up. I need some help here. What they do is they try to fly below the radar and just hope that it goes by unnoticed and they can get out of their issues unscathed. And I know I'm speaking in generalities here, but I see it in real estate in a really bad way. You think about all these real estate agents that meet with somebody, and what is their goal? It's to impress that person enough that they sign on the dotted line. They say, yep, I'm going to hire you. You're the agent. You're the guy. You're the girl. I trust you. Are the things that agent is saying fact? Is it truth? Or has it been designed to make you feel comfortable enough to agree to hire that real estate agent? Is it a combination of, here are the things that we can do to market your property for sale, when in reality, they're probably not going to do a lot of those things. Here are sales. Are they really their sales, or are they also company sales? Is it really a true reflection of that particular agent's individual skill set? Or are they leveraging that data with the help of others? Here's how much your home is worth. Is that backed up by factual data? Did you really sit down and go through that statistical analysis? Did you look at each individual property and say, yeah, well, you know what? This home has a fenced backyard and a screen porch, and it has hardwood flooring throughout, and the bathrooms have nice tile surround and updated vanities and fixtures, and yours has none of those things. So then why is it that agent is suggesting that you price your home for the same price as that other home that has way more upgrades? If you're not asking the questions, agents are going to try and slip one by on you because they want the listing. So let's say an agent goes in and they basically give you this pie in the sky number, or they give you something to get really excited about. And then what happens? It sits on the market. And so the agent, being afraid to lose your business because maybe you realize that agent told you something that wasn't entirely truthful or wasn't entirely backed up by fact. And maybe the agent is afraid that the seller is going to say, we should have had a deeper conversation on this. I'm not sure how you came up with that price, but we're 30 days on the market now. We're supposed to have had, 8 showings, or at least that's what you told me the average number of showings was, and we've had 3. So what can we do to market the property differently? Because that's what sellers always go to is, hey, what can we do to market the property differently? If you're overpriced, there's not much that a change in marketing is going to do for you, because it's just more of the same. More people are seeing that you're overpriced. So yeah, in some of these instances, when we meet with sellers and we look at what was done previously, the first thing that we do is we ask permission, and we get it to tell them the truth, to say, hey, can I show you what I'm seeing? ultimately, you're the decision maker here. It's your house. It's what you get to sell the home for what you want to sell it for. But ultimately, the market's going to decide what they're going to pay for it. See, I'm not in control of the price. The seller's not in control of the price. They can draw the line in the sand and say, at that price, it no longer makes sense for me to sell it, and that's perfectly fine. But your willingness to sell at a certain price and the market's willingness to buy at a certain price are two totally different things. We want to try and get as close to that as possible and let the marketing create urgency and excitement and ultimately get people to fight over your house, which is what you've seen so much of this year. But if that agent knowingly or frankly unknowingly, sometimes just this lack of training, which I'm going to get back to, is causing people to create these scenarios where clients have very high expectations and they're not being delivered upon. I'm sure if you've done a few transactions in real estate as you're listening, you've experienced that. You've experienced that agent that on one hand was really good. They did what they said they were going to do. It was a nice experience. It was easy. I always say the best relationship with a real estate agent's a short one. But then, of course, you've got the other side of the coin, the experiences in which it just seems like everything is a struggle. You have to call them for updates. The performance just isn't there. And what agents have done, I think by and large, is realize that, hey, I don't need to do a bunch of investment into my business, and they certainly aren't investing in themselves through, investing into things like training on emotional intelligence and stress management and how they can be a better quality person, business person, rather than saying, it's, where can I take this $1,500 a month and buy more leads and find more people? People's ability to grow professionally will mirror the rate at which they grow personally. I'm a big proponent of that. It's something that we have been talking about since before coronavirus hit. But I think even now, with everything that's happened, it has really exposed the people, in my opinion, that lack emotional intelligence and the ability to be compassionate, to have empathy, to have an understanding. And there are too many people, I think, in this industry that are emotionally and mentally immature. And it shows when things tend to start to go wrong in a transaction. That is where it gets exposed. When things don't go perfectly according to plan, when luck is not on their side. So I think one of the big things that has been exposed so far this year that needs to be drilled down on is training. There's just not enough of it in our industry. It's something that my team and I have focused on very heavily. And when new agents join the team, if they've never sold a home before and somebody calls, at some point an agent has to start somebody somewhere along the way. Somebody has to give them that first chance to impress them, to help them buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And we're upfront about that depending upon the agent that somebody that calls in talks to. And so you kind of just buttoning this up here, training is something I think is severely lacking in our industry, and it's obviously noticeable when you speak with somebody that is experienced, that's been through this, that has leveled themselves up, not just with cool gadgets and technology, but with a better understanding of how the world works and how to interact within it as a professional. And that's something that we're really passionate about. If that's something that you value, we value it too. We'd love to speak with you about helping you buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or visit us online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And lastly, you can always email me if you're more comfortable with that. Brian, that's Brian with an I, at brianbeattyteam.com. Brian at brianbeattyteam.com. Stick around, folks, for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. You know, I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Again, my number, if you want to reach out to me, you've got a question or a comment, you want to hire us to help you with your real estate needs, or just you need a connection. You know, hey, I need a good contractor, or can you just give me an idea of what my home is worth? I'm thinking about selling in the next, year or so, and I just want a benchmark. We're doing that for a lot of folks right now. 843-400-8009 is my number, 843-400-8009. Or you can visit us online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So this show, I'm really kind of going into what I have learned and what I think the industry should learn as a result of the coronavirus, the pandemic, and just, frankly, a really tough year. If you look at real estate, though, by and large, a lot of people in real estate are having their quote-unquote best year ever. And it's interesting how everything has played out. If you look at the Charleston market specifically, my God, we have the inventory is down so ridiculously low that it is creating bottlenecks essentially within our own market. Meaning, because there are so few properties available for sale, people are afraid to put their home on the market that want to sell because they're afraid they're going to sell it so fast they have nowhere to go, which causes even less inventory to hit the market. And so, and that's just one example of some of the things that we're seeing that happens here, at least right now in our market. But what I want to focus on for the next 10 minutes or so is how the tech-enabled agent is really going to rise above the competition and become the new standard for the person that ultimately gets hired to help somebody buy, sell, or invest in real estate. I think the people that remain ambivalent to change and technology that say, hey, why do I have to go and do all of these things when I can just put a property on the MLS and, price it at what the last one sold for, maybe 1% less, 2% less, and get multiple offers and sell it in a few days? Why do I need that? Well, look, at some point in time, I don't know when, and if you look online to try and find the answer, I'm telling you right now, it's impossible because nobody knows. But at some point in time, the music is going to stop, and there are only going to be a certain number of chairs, right? At some point in time, this market is going to lose some steam. I do think that next year is going to be another great year for real estate. I anticipate keeping, for the most part, the same momentum that we have now or have had throughout the year. It might slow down just a little bit. I don't think we're looking at a bubble bursting next year. I think that we might start to see some signs of that starting to happen, but I'm also not going to define what I think a quote-unquote bursted bubble looks like, because there's just too much going on for us to guess what's going to happen and the impact that's ultimately going to have. And I think that at least from my perspective, and I think a lot of folks listen to the show because they appreciate the fact that I'm really in tune with the market, not just here locally, but nationally, and then how that impacts your decision-making as somebody that should be buying, selling, and investing in real estate this year or next year. And I'm just here to tell you that there is uncertainty in the grand scheme of things as to what the future holds for real estate long-term. But I think in the short-term meaning 6 to 12 months, I don't think we have anything to worry about, if I'm being perfectly honest. I still anticipate appreciation. I still think inventory is going to be low because we have so many darn people moving here, which frankly is causing some people to move away, if I'm being honest. A lot of people are saying, hey, this is not the Charleston that I have grown and known to love. It's changing. It's changing a little too quickly for me. I'm out of here. Obviously, I'm in the right place at the right time, being a real estate agent with a bunch of people moving to the area. But anyways, what I'm getting back to talking about here is the tech-enabled agent. So if you think about what people have been asking of us as real estate agents for years, especially as it relates to helping people sell their home, because that's really where a lot of the tech comes into play. from a buyer's perspective, I can remember buying my first place. It was like it just became popular when I bought my first condo to be able to look at a real estate agent's website and actually see properties available for sale. And the websites were kind of archaic, and there were just a few that were better than others. Zillow wasn't even around. And obviously things have changed rapidly over the past 10 years. A lot of the tech that large companies use are now available to, the smaller guys, so to speak. The amount of technology that I have on my team, I'd put it up against anybody in Charleston, anybody in the state. Our technology is amazing. I'll give some examples. I'm not obviously going to tell you guys everything that we do from a technology standpoint because a lot of agents listen to this show. But getting back to my point here, the seller experience, people have asked for the longest time, what are you going to do to find buyers for my home? That's a very common question. And what they're asking here is, what sort of proactive steps are you going to take to find a buyer for my house? Not, hey, where does my property go when it's put into the MLS? Because that's a level playing ground for a lot of people. It goes in the MLS. Once it goes into the MLS, it is syndicated to every single real estate agent's website, every single real estate brokerage's website, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, blah, blah, blah. It's basically all the same. What's been different for several years, at least for my team, is that when it went on Zillow, I had a special deal with them where when that property was listed for sale on Zillow, I was the only agent that you could see. I mean, if you go on Zillow and you look at these listings, I'm going to say 99% of them show multiple agents that you can call. The person at the top's the listing agent, everybody else is just some random agent paying for leads in that particular zip code. So you as a consumer, snooping around online and see a property you like, call an agent. There's a 75% chance that agent that you ultimately talk to has no idea what's going on with that property. And good for Zillow for creating something that the public obviously needs. But I'm sure that you've experienced that as a consumer. If you've used Zillow, you talk to an agent that has no idea how to answer your questions because they're seeing the same thing you're seeing. Hey, how deep is the pool in the deep end? That's a great question. I have no idea. Let me call the listing agent. Oh, wait, you're not the listing agent? But for us, we've been the only agent on Zillow for years and years and years. Well, Zillow, in their complete idiotic group of bad decisions over the past few years, have now decided that, hey, nobody, even if you were grandfathered in, even if they told the agent that, hey, if you keep paying for this service, you're going to have it in perpetuity because you're grandfathered in, they're getting rid of it at the end of this month. No one's going to be the only agent on their listings anymore in Zillow. And it's my guess that at some point very soon, Zillow is going to be on its way out. They are primed for replacement because they keep pissing people off, namely the agents that fuel their company with our listings, by the way. Having said that, it's the number one used site in the market, and it makes sense to be on there, which is why we spend a stupid amount of money every month to market ourselves and our properties on that website because it works. But getting back to this tech-enabled agent that I'm talking about, the vast majority of what agents do is very reactive in nature. It's, hey, I'll put a sign in the yard, hope somebody calls. I'll put it online, meaning it goes in the MLS and then it just syndicates to all these websites. It's not like they're manually entering your property into a bunch of websites. It all happens automatically. And then they just hope that they're the one that gets the call, which there's a 1 in 4 chance in many instances. Maybe I'll do an open house. Well, how are you marketing that open house? Is that actually an event that agent knows how to properly market? Or is it, my marketing is just all the signs and the balloons that I put out on the weekend, try to catch people driving around? Can you ask yourself the following question and answer it? If I asked 1 million people this question, I wonder what the answer would be. When was the last time you went driving around on a Sunday after going out for lunch and you see an open house sign with a nice balloon on it? You follow the signs to this house and you say, wow, this house really is perfect. I'm going to buy it. That's not what most people do. pretty fair statement, I think. But if you use the open house and so here's what buyers really don't want. They don't want to be bombarded with phone calls and text messages from real estate agents. People go to open houses more often than not because they're doing recon, they're doing research, they're trying to figure out where they want to be. And so, yeah, as they're driving around, or if they see a home in that particular neighborhood, they say, well, yeah, might as well take a look at it. But if you use the open house as a true marketing event, if for all those people that are out there that are ready, willing, and able to buy something that just don't, that have learned that, hey, if I put my information in on this website, I'm about to get 50 phone calls. I don't want that to happen. So they go fishing around for open houses and they say, you know what? I'm going to go see that house on my own time. I don't need some agent hounding me at all hours of the day and night, trying to have a conversation with me about my real estate goals. So here's a nice open house. I'm going to go and see it this weekend. It's a fairly nonchalant, low pressure way to see a home that they might be interested in, but it has to be marketed to them. So how do we do that? How do we use tech to find people that are searching for a home like the one that you want to sell? How do we proactively identify those people? You know, what types of buyers would be interested in your home? Is it a first-time home buyer? Is it an empty nester? Is it somebody that's moving up from their first home that would have a home that they need to sell first? Is it a second home? Is it a military buyer? All these different groups of people have different demographics and online characteristics and behavioral traits. You know, things that are actually trackable that we can use to our advantage to find them and market to them. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this process. This is something we've been doing for years, and we are way ahead of the curve when it comes to technology and our ability to use that to identify people proactively that want to buy what we have for sale and want to sell to a buyer we're currently working with. So stick around. This is the exciting part, folks. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. If you want to reach out to me, learn more about my team and all the great things that we do from a technology perspective to help you sell your home while, of course, remaining very focused on the customer experience, give me a call, 843-400-8009, 843-400-8009, or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 1250 WTMA. Expert news and views on the Low Country real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I always like to take a little bit of time and just say thank you to those of you that listen to this show. I mean, this show for me, quite honestly, has been very therapeutic because it's my opportunity to just kind of let things get aired out. For me to help you guys understand what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing as somebody that is very well connected to the market, to what's happening within it, to what agents are feeling and experiencing, to what clients are feeling and experiencing. I've always, I think, been truthful on the show and have made a concerted effort to kind of peel back the curtain, which I say fairly often, on this industry and help you guys really understand what you're in for. If you're going to buy, sell, and invest in real estate, what do you need to know? How do you become as informed as possible and separate the fact and the things that you need to know from all the buzz and all the BS that you read online and watch on TV, because there's so much of it. So much of it is designed to get you to contact them so that they can put you into their funnel and start to sell you stuff. I'm obviously I want to earn your business. Don't get me wrong. I would never talk myself out of business, but this is an informational show. This is me just being honest with you guys, and it is designed to be helpful and informational. And if that results in a business opportunity, fantastic. If that's something that you're interested in, feel free to call me, 843-400-8009. You can text that number too, 843-400-8009. Or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com, listingsincharleston.com. So I want to finish up this discussion on this tech-enabled agent that I'm describing to you and some of the things that we've implemented on my team that has put us just way ahead of the curve on from a technology perspective. And I think that before I go any further, let me just say that technology, in the eyes of several agents, is a replacement to doing work. For us, it just enhances the work that we're already doing. There is no technology out there that replaces a quality conversation with a real human being. There's a lot of stuff we do that is quote unquote old school in nature. And by that, I mean, yes, the phone that now looks super sleek and is a supercomputer that can fit in the palm of our hand is also used for dialing and talking to people. It's not just for text messages and playing games and looking at Facebook and all the other things we do on the phone. We talk to a lot of people. Having said that, if you think about how kind of our industry has changed and just how communication in general has changed, and this is kind of where technology comes into play, most people, and I'd be curious to know if you think that I'm wrong on this. I don't think I am, but most people, quite honestly, unless they are transactional in nature, meaning unless they are at the point in their home search process or in the decision-making process as to whether they're going to sell a home or not, until they really get to that point, they don't want to talk to you on the phone. You know, if you're a buyer and, you know, right now you're thinking of buying a home in fall of next year, do you really want to have a conversation over the phone with a real estate agent if what they're going to do is try and set up a time to sit down with you for 30 minutes and talk about the real estate process and what you're looking for, and then get you connected with a lender so that you can get pre-approved for a mortgage? Absolutely not. It sounds horrible. Agents need to get better at having quality conversations with people and providing them with real value consistent with their time frame and their level of motivation at that specific point in time. If you're 9 months away from buying a house, if I'm 9 months away from buying a house, I'm sorry, but I really don't feel like going and sitting down with somebody and then having somebody run my credit. Let's just get real. You know, the expectation that agents have of the people that they communicate with is just totally out of line with reality and with consumers' true wants and needs. So I think before we talk about the tech, we have to talk about the understanding of people and what they want and what they don't want. Then we can start to appeal to them. So for a lot of what we do, it is content-based. You know, if you think about the average buyer, of course it starts with an understanding of your consumer and their behaviors and how they want to be communicated with. Because all of these things help you buy homes and sell homes. And I'll explain why in just a minute. But the average consumer, from the time they start looking at properties online until the time they ultimately purchase something, is 13 months. That's the quote-unquote shelf life of a buyer. From the time that they register online until the time they actually buy something. And we all know that real estate agents suck at communication. So they might have that first initial conversation with you, and then when you as a buyer shut them down for an appointment because you don't want to, which is perfectly acceptable, then they just go on to the next one. You know, they have this addiction to new leads, to new conversations, that they've forgotten the art of sales and that the fortune is in the follow-up. Hey, if I talk to you and you're a year away from buying something, first of all, I'm going to promise you right now that when somebody contacts my team and they say they're a year away from buying something, we will communicate with them throughout the course of that year. We're going to ask them how we want them to be communicated with. What we normally do is just send them information that they can absorb and view on their own schedule to help them shape their understanding of what's about to come, which is a transaction in real estate in that particular market at that particular point in time. So it's a lot of information. It's education. It's here's what you need to know. And along the way, if we're building trust in a relationship where you see us as being knowledgeable and somebody that can help you with this process, then at the time that's right, let's sit down and let's have a conversation. And as that time gets closer and closer and closer, we do obviously encourage that conversation because, especially right now, inventory is incredibly low. And one of the things that we have been very good at not just this year. We've gotten better at it this year out of necessity. But for years, we sell our own listings to buyers. Part of that is a function of the fact that we're actually marketing our listings for sale, which I'll talk about here in just a minute. But we've made a much more concerted effort to communicate with our own database for those people that are 6 months out that say, hey, I'm going to buy in 6 months. I don't really want to move before school gets out and summer starts next year. But if you see something that you think would work, let me know. They still want to, continue to learn and be informed on changes in the market and new listings. And if that absolutely perfect property hits the market, maybe they'd consider doing it. But what we've gotten really good at is saying, hey, if this buyer is looking for this thing, this type of home, and they're 6 months out, and then we talk to a seller that has a home like that wants to sell in 6 months, why not match those two up? We have been really successful in playing the role of matchmaker this year, which I think most agents don't have the capacity to do because they are not organized. They do not have organized databases. They don't know how to find the people that they've already talked to match those two people up. That just, that's a thought that hasn't entered their mind. The only thing they're concerned about is, okay, when do I call this person next so that I can set a meeting so that I can get them to sign an agreement for me to represent them? So the quality of your agent isn't just in their number of sales or their salesmanship. It's their ability to have a really well-rounded approach to this business, to have technology that supports and enables them to do things at a higher level. And so when we come back, I'm going to talk about the last few minutes about some of the things that we're doing that really are kind of cutting edge, that are helping our folks sell their home, in my opinion, for more money, and as the numbers show, 7 times faster than the market average. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. If you want to reach out to me, remember the number is 843-400-8009. That's my cell, 400-8009. Or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. We'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Thank you so much for joining me. And, I wish you all happy holidays. And, for those of you that have maybe been through the ringer this year, a brighter future ahead. It's been tough for a lot of folks, and good job for sticking it out. And we certainly are excited about being fortunate enough to have a business that has grown this year. We've almost doubled in size, and I just can't thank you enough. That's not possible without folks like you. So thank you for your trust and for your business, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So I want to finish this discussion on this tech-enabled agent that I think is the wave of the future that will very soon leave the kind of old-school agent in the dust. And so we've been talking about a few things already, but I want to go back to this example I was giving about how we target specific people when people hire us to sell their home for them. So when, again, traditionally, when somebody hires a real estate agent, what does that agent do? It goes in the MLS. A sign goes in the yard. From the MLS, it then syndicates to a bunch of different websites. There is no magic there. It's a level playing field. Everybody does the same thing. Maybe they post it on their business Facebook page that has, 500 likes on it or whatever. I'm not putting those agents down. I'm just saying that the only audience that's seeing that online are the people that have liked their business page. And if not many people have liked their business page, or if the people that have liked it are other real estate agents or their, family and friends, it's kind of like having a billboard in the middle of nowhere for your business. You're not driving traffic to that specific post. You're not finding people that are interested enough in the property based on analytics to then see the post, to then drive them to a website, so on and so forth. I'm going to explain what we do here. When we walk into a property and we explain our marketing to people, depending upon their kind of understanding of how the world works online, we'll either give a very watered down version of our process. On the other hand, I had a conversation, and I'm working with a gentleman that is a computer scientist that, I don't even know what his exact title is. But anyways, he is very familiar with the practices that we do in order to generate business on our listings. So when we walk through a house, we ask ourselves the simple question of who do we think the kind of buyer for this home would be? Is it a first-time home buyer? Is it an empty nester? Is it somebody moving up into a larger home because their family's growing? Are they relocating to the area? Is it a military buyer? Is it, a retirement couple? All these different types of people have specific demographics, right? So that's kind of step one is let's segment out the people that we think would more than likely be the buyer for this house. So let's just focus on a home in a family-friendly neighborhood, right? A lot of families live in there, a lot of kids. So that's step one is, all right, well, let's target the people that maybe are moving up, that, say it's a nicer neighborhood in Mount Pleasant. It's likely not somebody's first purchase. So they own their own home. So first step is, all right, let's identify those demographics, those groups of people that apply to that property. Next step is we have to make sure that those people actually have a real estate interest, right? It's not like we're just throwing up a bunch of marketing on the wall to everybody that has a family and seeing who wants to buy a home in that specific area of Charleston. No, we have to make sure that there's a specific real estate interest so we can ask the question of who has been online and looked at real estate in that area, in that zip code, in that price range over the past, say, 90, 180 days. So now we have this group of people with a real estate interest in that area, all of which we can find. And then we take it one step further and say, who is displaying online behavior right now that leads us to believe they are preparing for a move? What sort of analytics can we look at to determine their likelihood to move? And this can apply to both buyers and sellers, which we do and we use. And so we can say as an example, all right, well, let's say somebody's relocating to the area. Who has searched for real estate in this area? And who, as an example, has researched schools in a particular zip code in which that search originated from a different zip code? I mean, when was the last time you researched schools in a different area unless you were thinking about moving there? So all these things combined give us this target audience that we can market to for that particular property. And once they see that ad, it drives them to a website for their property. And of course, if they register, then boom, we call them. And by the way, and I can prove this, our average response time to incoming leads on my team is 15 seconds. Industry average is 36 hours. I'm just saying. But let's say they come and they look at the site and they look at your property and they say, oh, that's really nice, but they choose not to leave their contact information. Well, just like you going to Amazon and looking at something and then choosing not to buy it, you're going to be reminded that you looked at that thing. Maybe you looked at a hammer. And next time you go to Amazon, they say, hey, you looked at this hammer. It's a nice hammer. Sure you don't want to buy this hammer? I think you should buy this hammer. Or maybe you go online to a different website and you see a little banner ad that said, hey, remember that hammer you looked at on Amazon? Just in case, here's a quick link if you wanted to go and check it out again. We're doing the same thing just from a real estate perspective. And it goes so much deeper than that because we also have the ability to target people that are likely to sell their home. Think about how valuable that would be as a buyer right now in a market where inventory is incredibly low. Or think about the person that wants to sell their home and then buy another, but they're afraid to put their property on the market because they can't find what they want. So if I'm explaining, or if your situation falls within those parameters, or if you just want more information on what buying or selling a home is going to look like next year and something we can help you through, feel free to give me a call. The thing that I think has really separated us is, of course, our ability to proactively market properties and identify people on a case-by-case basis based on your needs. But we also have the database that we can already sift through, all the conversations we've already had. So if that's something that we can help you with, 843-400-8009 is my number, 843-400-8009. Or check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You guys enjoy the rest of your year. Happy holidays, and thanks as always for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.